What's going on, everyone? I wanted to show this craft that I got some of my supplies from Amazon. I picked up these stiff felt circles. They're the real stiff kind, and this would work great with making a pen like this. So I went on and picked those up, and now I'm just taking them out of the package. And looking at the size of these circles, I figured that I can get a couple out of just one of them. So I'll leave the information in the description, and also on my Amazon page of the supply number for that. So I just picked up some images off of Google and figured out the size that I wanted. The other ones that I printed out were a little small, and I liked the size of that one. So now I'm just taking out some stick pins from my stash, and then I'm just going to try to hold these down. So as you can see here, I'm getting 2 of these on one of those felt circles, and just holding my pins together here to try to get them pinned down so I can go ahead and get a couple cut out. So with both of these pinned down, I can be ready to go ahead and get some scissors and start to cut them out. So once I have them cut out, you see this is what I'm left with here. Not perfect. And then I believe I didn't get that in the film, but I went on and used an X-Acto knife and also scissors to try to wiggle out the middle part there in the inner circle. So also in my stash, I had these sort of badge clips, I think they are. So I went on and just used some pliers here and tried to pry them off. The sticky part of the pen, I had to take that off. I didn't need that part, and plus it was too bulky. If things were, we were in a different situation that we were in, I probably would have went out and looked for something a little smaller, but I used what I had, and so I just took off the sticky part of those and then used the back part of the pen. So now that I have 2 of those, I have 2 ready for my project. So I have some E6000 here, and I also hadn't worked with the jewelry and bead one, so I went on and ordered those, and had to figure out how there's a white plastic part and there's a black plastic part, and then there is the part that the glue comes out of. So I had to figure out how to go ahead and use that. Once I got that together, I was ready to get started. So I'm taking my felt here and just lining everything up, and I've got some tweezers and I'm ready to go. So obviously I want to work with a little bit at a time. This is a delicate project, so I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit at a time, and I'm just gonna show you here what I'm doing. I didn't want to get too close because that is my signature. I will put you out of frame in a minute. So this is what you're going to get here. I am just using this very beautiful beading here, and I also ordered that from Amazon. Now I'm just trying to apply a little bit at a time. I think this is, and I'll leave it, the information, it is very close to 3 millimeters. I don't know, I want to say 2.9, but anyway, it's very close to 3 millimeters. They didn't have the 2 in stock when I ordered, and I would have preferred probably to use the 2 millimeter because it's smaller and I could probably get 3 rolls in there. But I've just used, like I said, what was in stock, and it still turned out pretty good. But I'll leave the information for the one that I used down below, and I'll link it on my Amazon page. But I'm just doing a little bit at a time here. Just using that jewelry and bead glue, and then just trying to work with this rhinestone trim, which is gorgeous, by the way. So it wants to lift, because as you can see here, I finished 2 rolls on one side, and now I'm going to work on the other side because it's got to take time to cure. So it wants to lift. So you have to work very delicately with this type of glue. So now I'm just trying one of the outer C's, and then I'm going to use some fine scissors here to cut off the excess. And then since I was able to cut that off, it was kind of easier to work with on the outside. Just trying to get it all curved around. So now I've got the outer, and then I'm going to work on the inner and finish it all up. So here they are, all finished up. And as you can see here, I've got to trim that up, but I've got to let these dry good for a while, as you can see here. Now this one, I think it was so close that I didn't want to mess it up, so I left that one, but the other one had so much around it that I'm going to trim that off after I let that dry for a bit. So I let that dry, and I don't know if this was 24 to 48 hours later, and then I went on and trimmed that up. Okay, now here I am with this glue. I guess I wanted to show about cleaning that up. So the white part stays on there all the time, and then you interact with the little needle that the glue comes out of. So I'm just trying to clean that off with a wipe here to make sure that they come with several of the little nozzles there, but I just wanted to make sure that I clean it up as best as possible, because I'm known for having something glued together and then I can't use the rest of it. So the black part sticks in the white part to close it, and then the other little nozzles stick into the white part for use. So once I figured that out and got it all cleaned out, I was ready to go. But I wanted to go ahead and show that, how I did that, and then screw that back on. So the next thing I'm going to do here is realize that I misplaced the 2 little fasteners there, and then once I found them, I was ready to go. So since these aren't quite the exact size that I want, they're a little bit bigger, but that is what I had. So I'm trying to make sure that the placement is right. I don't want to make sure that you can't really see them when you turn them over. So I'm doing that, and then once I do that, I'm just going to pick up my glue and go ahead and glue that down real good, and then get the placement right and stick it on the back. Since there is that inner loop hole, I decided to do it at the top. If that hole wasn't there, then I probably would have went on and glued that in the middle, but I went on and glued it at the top, since you have that hole in the middle there of the 2 C's coming together. So now that I've got a nice glob of glue on there, and I decided which way I want the pen to go, I'm just turning it over, and as you can see here, you can't really see it from the back side, well, from the front, so I did pretty good. So now that I'm happy with that, I'm just pressing down on it real good to make sure that I get a good firm hold, and then I'm just going to set it aside. And then once I do that, I'm going to do that for another 24 to 48 hours, let that sit so it can cure real good. And so now I'm doing the same thing with the next one. And then I left this in because I actually went on and had that in frame and actually showed how I'm just going to glue that down real good on the back side of that pin. See, it has that flat side, so I'm just going to add a nice set of glue on there and then just gluing that down on the back side. So now that I have that down, I'm going to flip it over again, and you can see that I can actually see that pin. So I'm going to move it over and move it just right so I can't see, and then you can see I've moved it to where it's good placement where I can't see it. So I'm happy what I have, and I think this was a great look for less craft. I'm happy what I have made here, and so I'm just going to leave these aside and clean up my work area and let that sit. And so this is the final result. This is a nice look for less designer inspired craft. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, see you later, Craftinistas.